Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode. I haven't introduced myself yet on any of these shows, but I'm Jackie Hanzl, your host, and this is Made. My guest this week is Grace ZARAS, and she is the owner and founder of ZARASpeech Company. She is a speech language pathologist. Glad I can say that. For the 8th year in an elementary school in North Carolina, right?
Yep.
I'm also a speech pathologist, for those of you who don't know. I was just talking to Grace before this and trying to remember how I found her on Instagram. I don't remember, but your memes were always so funny about
Thank
speech.
you. Thank you.
Ryan Gosling, you have Ryan Gosling there, right? Hey, girl.
Yes. Yes, I have a lot of those. And I'm
um,
so glad that you find them humorous. So,
definitely. I think I even shared, wasn't it the Kim Kardashian one where she's making this face and it says
yes.
when a non SLP, I don't even know if it's a non SLP, but like non SLP is trying to explain what the kid does speech
Yeah,
wise.
I think, there's one of that. Yeah.
I think I
I've made so many, they kind of run together now, and I'll have to go back and refresh those. But
hmm
yeah, definitely.
hmm
I come up with memes at any given moment,
That's great.
driving to work or just in my kitchen. They just
Yeah,
come to me. So
yeah,
I'm
that's great. You're
yeah.
very talented. Um, I wanted to say too, well, we are talking about the Twilight Zone, by the way, everybody. Season 3, episode 6, Eye of the Beholder. And before we get into that, there's one thing I wanted to say. When I started this channel, I was really focused on, entrepreneurs, small business owners, and I myself am not, I mean, I work full time for someone else. I work for a school district and I have,
Mhm.
I do editing. I have podcasts. I don't make money from the podcast, but I do make money from the editing. But I never thought about what you were doing. You're an entrepreneur and you work for someone else. So I really like that,
Mhm. Thank you.
to have you on this. And what else was I going to say here? Oh, I want to plug one of your products that I just got. This tank
Yay.
top. It
So
says
cute. Thank
grateful,
you.
yes, and it's phonetically transcribed. So if you're not a speech pathologist, I don't know how into the phonetic transcription you'll be, but maybe if you're a word
Yeah.
nerd. But it is so soft, and I am not BSing. I mean, really great quality, really great,
Good.
great quality. And it's made in. Tell me where it's made again. What country? Do you remember?
It should be the United States, I think. Or it could be Germany. Sometimes the
Okay,
vendor that I work with, they have them from US or Germany
okay, okay. I
sometimes.
knew it wasn't a
Yeah.
certain country that a lot of things are from.
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone. I don't know if I insulted anybody, but not usually the best quality. So
Yeah.
they are wonderful. I brought this one in here too because I also got an army green one that says Namaste. Whoops. Namaste.
Oh, that's so pretty.
Yeah. Um so you are known as on the socials and the web,
Mhm.
Zara Speech, right?
Yeah.
Zara
Zara
Speech. I thought your
speech.
name was Zara. I
Yeah.
didn't know. Um
Some
so
people call me that, I'll answer to it. So,
I have one more thing to say. So when I found out your last name was Zara's, and I was like, "Oh, I wonder what nationality that is." I was like, "I think it's
yeah.
Greek." And my husband was like, "No, it's probably the Spanish." I mean, I was like, "Oh yeah, the store Zara's," because I studied abroad in Spain, and Zara. That's where I
Oh,
first saw
yeah.
Zara's. But
Yeah.
I was right. That's all I have to
You
say.
were
I
right.
was
I'm
right.
impressed. A
Thank
lot of
you.
people don't know that it's Greek, so
Hmm,
that's awesome.
thank you. Okay. I think that's it. Well, you have a shirt on too. Sorry that you sell.
Yes.
Very cute.
Yeah, this is the
Speech.
speech tee. This was actually the first shirt that I
Mm-hmm.
released,
Mm-hmm.
and it is also very soft. This one is made in the United States
Nice. Nice.
from a company,
That's
so
great. Okay, so let's get into the Twilight Zone.
yeah.
For those of you who don't know what the Twilight Zone is, which, come on. The Twilight Zone is an American science fiction horror anthology television series created and presented by Rod Serling, which ran for 5 seasons on CBS from October 2nd, 1959 to June 19th, 1964. That seems so short for how famous it is and
Yes.
on TV. Let's see. Okay. Because I would watch the reruns when I was growing up, and I grew up really in the 80s. So they were on then, and we were watching them. The episode you picked, The Eye of the Beholder, I'm going to go through the recap of that. And I messaged Grace because she sent me the episode and I didn't look at the description. And when you said the Twilight Zone, I said, there's one episode of the Twilight Zone I remember so perfectly clearly, and this is the episode. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh,
That's so funny. Yeah, I remember when I got the message, it made me smile.
oh,
I was glad that somebody knew that episode because, I
yeah.
mean, I watch a lot of old shows, so most people my age and our age don't ever watch the old Twilight Zone. They may be familiar. I guess they did a remake, but
Yes, they did.
I can't make myself
You
watch
can't
it.
make
It's
yourself right.
just
Hmm.
Rod Serling is the Twilight Zone, and if
Yeah,
he's not in it, it's
it's
not the
not the
same.
Twilight Zone. No. Okay. So here's the plot. Janet Tyler has undergone her 11th treatment, the maximum number legally allowed, in an attempt to look normal. Her head is completely bandaged so that her face is entirely covered, and her face is described as a, quote, pitiful, twisted lump of flesh by the nurses and doctor. Lurking in the shadows of the darkened hospital, they're lurking in the shadows of the darkened hospital room. The outcome of the procedure cannot be known until the bandages are removed. Unable to bear the bandages any longer, Janet pleads with the doctor and eventually convinces him to remove them early. As he prepares, the nurse says that she still is uneasy about Janet's appearance. The doctor becomes displeased and questions why Janet or anyone must be judged on their outer beauty. The nurse warns him not to continue in that vein as it is considered treason. The doctor removes the bandages and announces that the procedure has failed and her face has undergone no change. But Janet's appearance is actually that of a classically beautiful looking woman based on the beauty standards of the world we live in. The doctor, nurses, and other people in the hospital, however, are revealed as monstrous, with drooping features, large, thick brows, sunken in eyes, swollen and twisted lips, and wrinkled noses with extremely large nostrils like pig snouts. Distraught by the failure of the procedure, Janet runs through the hospital as what is considered normal in this alternate society. State is revealed. Flat screen televisions throughout the hospital project an image of the state's leader giving a speech calling for greater conformity. Eventually, a similarly attractive human looking man named Walter Smith arrives to take the crying, despondent Janet Tyler into exile to a village of her, quote, own kind, where her, quote, ugliness will not trouble the state. Before the two leave, Walter comforts Janet, saying that she will find love and belonging in the village and that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, meaning that even though the people from the state and their society might find Janet Tyler ugly, others will find her beautiful. So, why did you pick this episode specifically?
Well, it was hard because I like all the Twilight Zone episodes, at least the first 3 seasons,
Mm-hmm.
the early ones. But to relate it to being a small business owner, um, at times you may feel like you don't belong, with trying to find your buyer, dealing with criticisms or feedback from people who
Mm-hmm.
aren't satisfied. You sometimes feel like you have to hide yourself in the way she was.
Mm.
Um, and
Yeah.
I identified with that, feeling like we are a spectacle in this modern society, and what people see is sometimes all that matters at times.
Yes.
How you are seen, what your
Mm-hmm.
products look like, that's the
Mm-hmm.
first thing that people tend to notice.
Yeah.
And it's not always accurate,
No.
I guess.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I didn't think of it that way, relating it to the business. I think too, have you had imposter syndrome? I kind of hate that term, but but
Yeah.
it's real. I mean, a lot of times
Yeah,
people.
Yeah,
Have you felt that way?
I do like, I try not to think about that as much as
Mhm.
I did, like, earlier when I was
Mhm.
first releasing things. Now
Mhm.
I'm just like, I think this is good. I know it's worked for me, and,
Yeah.
if you're my buyer, you're my buyer.
Yeah.
If not, I'm welcoming all feedback, of course.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
yeah, I tend to overthink. I
Oh,
still
yeah.
overthink.
A lot of people do. You also too, when you're starting your own business, you're also doing it for you and hopefully leading with love. And
Yes.
because if you don't, and if you're trying to change it for everybody else, it probably won't be good. Or if it is, it won't last long.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true. Yeah,
yeah.
I have found that. And in the field of speech therapy, if we want to go into that,
Yeah.
um, I my products aren't like others in the field, I guess you could say, because I use a lot of written words,
Hmm.
and I've found that it's helped with my students. So
Mm.
that was one of the reasons I started the business. I wanted to share what has worked for me.
That's what I was going to
Um,
ask you. You started
yeah,
with materials as opposed to
yeah,
like merch. Okay.
right. Yeah, the merchandise kind of just happened. One day I was like, well, I could try this too to get more attention to my materials.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I love designing things too. So it's a nice escape from,
Yeah.
the demands of life if I
Yeah.
can just design something. And I have ideas that just come to me
Mhm.
randomly and quickly.
Mhm.
So it's just something fun to
Yeah.
add to what I already have.
Yeah. How long ago did you start Zara Speech?
Well, I started on Teachers Pay Teachers
Okay.
in 2019,
Oh, okay.
and so I was on there for a while, and I had the Instagram
Mhm.
along with the Teachers Pay Teachers,
Okay.
and then I started making a lot of memes, and I kept getting more followers, and one thing led to another, and I think it was in 2021 I launched my website.
Oh,
So
cool.
I still have the TPT, but I have a lot more on my
Mhm.
website.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Lots of
yeah.
cute stuff. We'll put a link in the
Thanks.
description. Um, I'm gonna ask you more about that, but I'm gonna go back right now to the episode. Well, first of all, you were saying, so who got you to watch Twilight Zone? Was it just on, or was there someone in your family or something?
My dad.
Yeah.
My dad and I still watch it.
Aw.
I've probably been exposed to the Twilight Zone earlier than I can remember because that was one of his favorite shows that he always had on. So,
Mhm.
I could have been in the vicinity and he had it on, but
Yeah.
he really got me interested in it, and
Mhm.
it didn't take much for me to get, you know,
Hooked.
attached to the show because I
Yeah.
love to analyze, and
Mhm.
at first glance it may seem like it's just another science fiction black and white old show
Right.
that may not be relevant to modern times because it's so old, but I found that watching not only this episode that we're talking about but the
Mhm.
other ones, they're very relevant to modern
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
um,
This one definitely. Um, just the idea of beauty and the different trends and how I mean, I find myself being, like, hypnotized into it, like, "My lips aren't full enough.
yeah,
My lips
yeah,
aren't
you're
full enough."
You're
My
constantly comparing yourself to
Oh my
others, and
gosh. I mean, it
social
used to
media is
yeah,
really, I think, has a lot of that.
we obviously, even before social media, there'd be the magazines, but it's so much worse now because it's
Mhm.
just in your face everywhere.
Yes,
Um,
that's what I was gonna say, it's
everywhere you
literally
look.
in your face.
Um, so I wanted to go into some things I noticed. So the first thing I noticed, and maybe it's because I'm an SLP, or not, but the way they spoke, and I've noticed this before in movies from the 50s, how they're like,
Mhm.
but you can't. Now I can't. I'm gonna not quote the nurse correctly, but she's like, "You can't worry yourself about the patient." The
Yes.
oh. So
Yeah.
I'm like, that this has to be a thing. Like they didn't speak like that in the 50s in real life. So
Right,
I
I
looked
know,
it
and
up.
every day, yeah.
So I looked it
Or
up.
maybe they did.
Hopefully, Google. got it right. But it says verbosity in general, verbosity. These were the
Mhm.
first talkies, and the filmmakers really wanted to show their moves with the new technology. So most of the actors and technicians and everyone came from a stage background where the stage was fairly static and dialogue drove the action. So I guess, and then also there was radio drama. So really use that dramatic inflection and,
Yeah.
so that I was like, oh, that's interesting. I wasn't sure why. I thought that maybe that was just the style back then or something, but
Yeah. That is
yeah.
interesting. I hadn't thought of it like that. I always thought it was maybe like if you watch really, really old movies, they're full of dialogue. It's just so
Yes.
dense. They're so
Yes.
descriptive. And I think part of those movies were well, a lot of those were broadcast over the radio. So
Yes.
people were just listening. So they
Mhm.
had to be
Yes.
descriptive for the listener. So maybe it's just like a continuation of that. Maybe
Yeah,
I don't
probably.
know.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, oh, so like just the nurse says, some people want to live no matter what. First of all, she says no matter what, but also like, what? Like, it's
I
like she
know.
should kill herself because she's so ugly. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, it's good. What was it? Oh, I already had that part. They were very touchy feely, the doctor with the nurse, like grabbing
I
each
hadn't
other.
even like yeah. I hadn't even
Just
like thought of that. I was like when I first watched it, like ever, I
yeah,
remember thinking like, why aren't they showing the doctor's face, you
faces.
know?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I remember
And then
being
I was
very
like,
intrigued.
oh my gosh, like really? You know, this was probably as a kid watching
Yeah.
it. But
Oh yeah. No, as a kid, I mean, I don't remember these things as a kid, but I do
yeah.
remember being very stuck to the screen and really being blown away at the end. Blown away. And
Yeah.
I remember I was so uncomfortable throughout it because you couldn't see them. It was very dark.
Mhm.
Um, but I did get it. Like so I don't know how old I was. I really don't. But I did get it. Like I was like, oh,
Yeah.
oh, that's what that means. Like,
Yeah.
um, what's the other part? Uh, I just have these random things. Like they took a very long time to take the bandages off. I mean, I
I know.
maybe
I
it
was
was
like, why are we being so but that's
that's
the
the
show.
whole
I
thing. I know,
mean,
I know, I know.
yeah, and then like
um,
I was thinking like how did they film this, because they didn't have like computers or anything. So
hmm
I imagine they just put the bandages over like the camera
yeah,
lens,
probably, and had the light. Yeah,
Yeah. So,
because I don't. For those of you who haven't watched it, you can see, you see her him taking the bandages off, and then you see from what apparently she sees, and it's just this
yeah.
bandage, and you see the light's getting
Yeah.
brighter. Um, I know she asks at one point, "Could I be put away?" It also made me think
Yeah.
about disabled, people who are majorly disabled and who do
Yes.
get put into
Mhm.
homes, and it's just like,
I know.
ugh, I know it's just
Yeah, and there's so
that
many
too.
like avenues of
Mhm.
like this episode could go. I mean,
Yeah,
if we
yeah,
just sit and think about it.
yeah.
So,
Obviously she's gorgeous, and her hospital gown is very short. She has like a mini,
yes.
which I just thought was really
I
funny.
know for the time period that this was released.
Yeah,
I mean, they were for the most part if you watch other shows of that era, they're fairly conservative,
yeah,
with their clothing,
yeah,
but
just funny. Um,
yeah,
okay. All right. When did you decide you wanted to be a speech pathologist?
that's a great question. I think in high school, I know that I declared a major. Like I knew going into college, I was going to pursue speech therapy.
Okay.
It wasn't what I always thought I would be. I think early on, I wanted to be a dentist, and I joke that I still deal with the mouth, just in a
Yes, you
different
do.
way. Um, I don't have the surgery and all that. Um, but I knew about the field because my mom was a special ed teacher for over 30 years,
Oh,
so
okay.
she would tell me about speech pathologists. And then my brother, I don't want to embarrass him, but he was in speech therapy for a long time for his
Mm-hmm.
ZARS. I was never in
Mm,
speech, but I saw firsthand how it could change my
yeah.
brother's,
Yeah.
articulation. And now you wouldn't even know
Wow.
that he had it. And he's an engineer now.
Oh,
So I just, I
yeah.
kind of fell into it, or it found me, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Usually it's someone maybe in the family who has speech. I don't know. I've found there's some connection
yeah.
there. I asked you this one already when you started ZARASpeech. How did you? I do have on here. What are your other interests? But that kind of sounds funny. But I want to know, how did you like to start the website and to do the? Did you have to do a lot of research for that? I mean, I know it sounds like your ideas come to you for the different
hmm
products, and you went from teacher pay teachers. Was it like kind of an easy transition to go to just have to have a website? And I guess can't
Well, I
remember.
mean, it was a very time consuming,
Mm,
daunting
okay.
activity that I just got myself into.
Yeah.
Just one summer, I was like, I'm just gonna do it. I did look around at different website platforms,
Mm-hmm.
and the one I chose, is good.
Mm-hmm.
If I was gonna do it over, I might go with a different one, but
Mm-hmm.
I've done so much on the one I have, I don't know how I would even
Right.
transfer it,
To
but
move
it
over.
does
Yeah.
its job, and
Yeah.
it it's worked so
Yeah.
far. Um,
And then how did you find so to look into the manufacturers, I guess?
mhm.
How did you how did you even where'd you start? Where'd you even start? Like,
There was an ad that popped up on my screen one day about like making custom merchandise, and I clicked on
oh,
it.
wow.
Yeah.
That's well, see,
Yeah,
it was
so
meant to be.
things just if I just stand back and let them, because I don't usually just let things happen. I like to
Yeah.
control everything.
Yes.
Um, but this, I just sat back and things kind of just fell into place the way
Wow.
my dad always tells me they do if I just
Yep.
let it go.
Mhm.
Um, so
Very true.
yeah,
Um, what are some of your, I guess, other interests or hobbies do you have?
when I have time,
Yeah.
I love writing, I love
Mhm.
reading. Um, I play piano when I have
Oh,
time. I
nice.
like DIY. I've spent most of my summer painting my house inside. I'm
Oh.
still not done, but
That's okay.
things like that. I like
Mhm.
exploring, road trips,
Mhm.
but those are the top things that I
Mhm.
enjoy.
I know you like writing. You like writing science fiction? Yes?
I
Or
I
anything?
actually don't I I haven't written any science fiction yet,
Wow, okay.
but who knows? Maybe.
So what genre then?
It's kind of a little bit of everything except
Okay.
science fiction at this point.
Okay.
Mostly fiction, loosely
Mhm.
based on real events, I
Mhm.
guess. You
Yeah.
know, I like books that have a lot of metaphors and a lot
Mhm.
of like indirect meanings that you
Yep.
kind of have to read again, and you're like, oh yeah, that's what they mean. It's not
Yeah.
so much a literal,
Yeah.
fictional book.
Yeah. Nice.
So that's
Nice.
kind of what I like to write.
Yeah.
That's what I like to read. So
Yeah. What's the last book you read?
The Catcher in the Rye.
Oh, really? But how
Yeah.
many times have you read it?
This was actually a first time, and
Oh,
I
okay.
haven't actually, like, I'm mostly done with it. I still have,
Okay.
like, 2 chapters left, but, I mean, it's just it's a different book. It kinda reminds me of, like, a Mark Twain type book,
Mhm.
like the
Mhm.
Huckleberry, Tom Sawyer, and
Yeah.
just there's a lot of sarcasm
Yeah.
in the
I
writing, and I appreciate that.
I read it in high school. I had to, but I'm
Yeah.
glad I did. Like that's one book I was really glad I did have to read it. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember. I think I might have read it as an adult, just because it was so long ago, and then I should probably read it again, actually.
Yeah, you should read it again.
Because it
I can send
affects
you
you
the book if you
differently.
need it.
Thanks. I have another
Um,
library, that's what I like to do.
yeah, like when I was in college, like I kind of didn't read for fun because I was reading to
Oh, yeah.
study
There's no
all the
time.
time. So I just kind of had to take a break from reading altogether. And
Oh.
like this summer, I got back into it. I also read a George Orwell book,
Oh.
um, Animal Farm. That was
Oh.
strange.
I
That was
don't
a
think I've ever
strange
read that,
book.
but I remember, I think my sister had to read it for school, like, that was very popular back then, that was, like, '80s, but yeah, Animal Farm is a lot I think I don't know if it'd be considered a classic exactly, but yeah, I haven't so
Yeah,
that was
it's
strange?
yeah. I
Mhm,
mean, the whole book is like a metaphor, but then
mhm.
it was made into a movie that I will never watch, but the movie was like a literal interpretation,
Yeah,
which
I
is
think
like,
I knew that.
it's
Yeah,
so just out
yeah,
there.
yeah. Um, what is your self-care? I hate using I know everybody I feel like that's such a buzzword over, 2020,
Yeah.
but I think it's important, so I don't know. What is your
So my
self-care?
self-care, probably just going to the beach like after work if
Mhm.
I'm not tired. But usually just I go to the beach, I walk the beach, I just
Nice.
either stand or sit and just watch the waves. It's
Mhm.
just
Yeah,
that's what I try to do. I try to do that often
that's
and
great.
not think about anything. Try
Yeah.
to turn off my phone for at least an hour,
Mhm.
not go on social media.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and laughing. I mean, I sound like I'm this deep, dark person watching The Twilight Zone and reading, these books by
Under the
George
rock.
Orwell, but I'm really not. Like I love comedy. So
Yeah.
if I can't go to the beach, I'm watching stand-up comedy. I try to do that often. I
Who's your
write
favorite
memes.
who's your favorite
Um,
stand-up?
I really
Yeah.
like recently, well, I would say about 3 years ago, someone I knew told me about Sebastian Maniscalco, and I don't know if you've heard of him, but
Who's what
he
does he
is
look like?
hilarious. He
Dark
is,
hair?
um,
I don't know if I know him. I
now
have
I
to look
think
him
it's
up.
more gray, but
Okay. Now I have to look him
he's
up.
he's Italian, and he will make
Mhm.
sure that you know that.
Oh,
Um,
yes. Yes, yeah.
yeah.
My friend told me about him. Isn't he like he doesn't curse or anything, right? Does he not?
He
Or does he? Oh,
does,
he does. Oh, I thought
but
that okay.
it's not as much as some people.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when he is, it just adds to this. Like he kind of has to for you to get
Yeah,
the full effect of the
yeah,
story that
yeah,
he tells.
yeah.
He does a lot of like retelling of events and observational things.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
just, I
I've
mean,
seen his bits of his stuff. Probably from a
yeah.
little bit long ago, but yeah, he's funny. He's funny.
Yeah,
Um,
he has some newer ones out. I like the one where he's wearing the pink shirt. I don't remember what it's called, but um, that's a good one.
is it What Is Going On? Or no, or is
No, I
no.
can't think of what he titled it. Um,
I don't know. Now I just have a bunch of pictures. That's all right.
yeah, I can send you some clips after this.
Sure.
He's got a good following on Instagram too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I know
but
the
yeah,
answer to
that's
oh,
yeah. Go
sorry.
ahead. Sorry.
That's okay. Um, I know the answer to this, but who's your favorite musician?
You had to ask. Well,
Of
it's
course,
definitely
because we're going to be talking about
John
this.
Mayer. John Mayer in any time of my life, it will be John Mayer.
Me too. And I
Um,
discovered it because you were playing music of his in one of your reels.
I
I was like,
try and yeah, I know. I found I like when people cover his songs because his songs are very complex if you want to
mhm,
play them on the piano.
Mm.
Um, I can sort of play part of one of his songs on continuum, um, but they're very complicated,
Yeah.
which it's
What's your
unsurprising.
favorite song of his, you think? Or at least top 3 or 2?
That's really hard. People ask me this. My dad asked me because he's also a John Mayer fan. He's like a newer
Aw.
fan because I took him to one concert. And
Aw.
ever since that concert, it's
That's
been
awesome.
John Mayer. That's all I listen to, Grace. That's what I hear from him. Like,
Aw. Cute.
so to pick a specific song, um, probably from his Continuum album, I just, out of all the albums, I love them equally. But if you said I could only listen to one, it would have to be Continuum because that song, I mean, that whole album is just so deep, like, in that
Mhm.
right up
Yeah.
my alley. Um, but I love Stop This Train. That
Oh,
song
see
is
that?
just so,
That's in my top 3. So,
yeah.
Assassin is not on that one, though. Is
No,
Assassin on?
that's
No. That's on,
Battle Studies.
Battle Studies. I always
Mhm.
think it should be on
That's
Continuum because I really love Continuum. Continuum,
yeah.
you can continue playing it. No, that's just
Yes.
one that you just can play. Oh, it's so stupid. You can play over and over.
Yeah.
No, Continuum is really, yeah, Stop This Train, Assassin. I also I also really love the submarine one.
Oh, Walt Grace.
Raw Grace.
The
That
one,
song
that's off
kills
the Born
me.
and Raised, I
Yeah.
think.
Yep.
Yeah, Born and Raised, Continuum, Battle Studies. Those are probably the 3
Yeah.
ones that I find myself listening to more,
Mhm.
even though I listen to everything. But
Yeah.
um,
I have
have
to
you
ask
seen
you
him
this. What?
live? Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, but yes, and we were going to go into that because I have
Okay.
sort of stories. I've not met him, but anyway, but so this random evening, this was a long time ago. I don't even know, probably early 2000ish is something like that. Before
Yeah.
2010.
Mhm.
My husband and I, we weren't married or engaged at the time, I don't think. And MTV, watching MTV, which I don't even do anymore. And
Oh my
this thing
gosh.
came on called John Mayer
Yeah.
Has a TV Show.
Yes, I remember
Okay,
this.
you've seen it.
Yeah,
You are
yeah.
like there anytime when I mention this to, they're like, "What are you talking about?" Like, did
Those
we
were the
imagine
golden
it?
days.
That
Those
was
were the golden
so
days of MTV, like,
that
you
was
know.
so funny. And one time on like something else, like on VH1 or something like that, they
Mhm.
played a blurb from that show. That is
Mhm.
show that was hysterical. So okay, I had to ask you that. That's amazing.
Yes.
That's awesome. Okay, yes, I've seen him. I think it was I was talking to my husband 3 times. The first time I went was me and my husband. He was great. Second time I went, I ended up I just remembered this today. I went with one of my friends and I was engaged and I didn't have a bachelorette party. I don't think I really
Mhm.
wanted one. Um, even though I'll go to them. I have no problem, but I didn't I don't think I had one. So she was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I made a sign for him that said something like 'Kiss me the bride to be.'" And I
Oh
just
my god.
remember this. I was like, "Oh my god." We were holding it up and jumping and he did address it, but I could barely hear him. And he was like,
Oh my.
"Oh, bride, kiss the bride or kiss the bride to be or something." He goes, "I would, but I'm taken." And I think at the time, I think he was dating Jennifer Aniston maybe, something
Oh,
like
okay, so
around their time.
that's a while ago, I think.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't
Oh, yeah. It was
know.
a long time ago. So
Yeah.
then the last time I saw him, gosh, I still don't even know how long ago this was. It was definitely probably like 10 years ago. Um,
Mhm.
okay, my friend and I, a colleague of mine at school, we bought the tickets and we got like, we were on, I don't even remember where we saw him. I think Bethel Woods, actually, famous Bethel Woods, where the original, yeah, it was Bethel Woods. The original Woodstock was. Um, and we had like pretty decent seats and
Mhm.
we bought the tickets way ahead of time. They were for the summer. I think we got them like months months in advance. My birthday's in May. My husband says, "I got you front row tickets to that John Mayer concert." And I was like,
Oh my
I like
god.
and it was through because he doesn't as much anymore, but he works on cars. He sells cars and he works on them,
Mhm.
and he
Mhm.
would try to, barter with people. And someone he knew was very good friends with his manager, and
Mhm.
I actually had her number in my phone just in case there was a problem. And the woman who's friends with the manager, like, told Dave, she's like, "Don't she cannot call her, like, no matter what." So I was, like, paranoid. I was somehow gonna butt dial this
Yeah.
woman and be an idiot, but
Right.
I didn't. So we get there, we get our tickets.
Yeah.
They were front row center, dead
Oh my
center. I was like,
I
I
would
was
have, like, I don't know what I would do.
I was like, "We're not moving." Like, I didn't go to the bathroom. Like, I never left the spot. Um,
Yeah.
Train, this is how long ago this was. Train opened up for him.
Oh, wow.
And they
You
were
never hear
really,
about them
I
anymore.
know. And they were really good. The
Mhm.
guy brought, like, they brought, like, young girls up. Kinda weird. No, some girls up on
Yeah.
stage, but that were nice, like, nothing, and, had them there dancing. He was really looking at the crowd and everything. And then, obviously, and then John Mayer came on and he was excellent. And there were people
Yeah.
next to us, a couple, and they were like, "Did you win the tickets?" And I was like, "No, we got them, for somebody who knew somebody." And this woman had, like, she was in, like, his VIP thing, and she was winning tickets and trying to get the front row ticket, like, worked very hard. So she was in this, like,
Yeah.
hardcore fan club, to get the front row
Mhm.
tickets. It's hard because I'm like, I don't think I could see him again unless I get
You
such a
gotta
brat.
get good seats. Like, no, no,
I
no, I'm the
know.
same. Like,
I
I if
know.
I could afford front row, I would have been in front row. But
Right.
we were always, like, on the floor.
Mhm.
Um, one time we were, like, I would say at least 6 feet away from the
Mm.
stage, but we were,
Mhm.
like, on the side.
Mhm.
Um, but it's just it's
Yeah.
something I always wanted to see him live. I didn't get to see him live until, like, 2017. That's when I took my
Mhm.
dad with me,
Aw.
and, it's just a whole different John
Yeah.
Mayer when you see him live. I
Yes.
mean, you think he's
Definitely.
good on the album,
Yeah.
but you haven't really seen him
Yeah.
or heard him if you haven't
Do
seen him
you
in
get
concert.
do you get hate from other women at all when you say 'cause I do. When I say I love him, I get, like, I'm like, "I'm not marrying him. I don't know why you're acting like I'm gonna date
Yeah,
him or
I
something."
know. Like, I have gotten some looks, like, but that was more of, like, in high school when I was listening to him,
Really?
in college,
No, I
and
get
I
it
was
as,
like,
a woman in my 40s.
yeah. Oh, well, I just don't care, I guess.
No, it's funny to me. I'm like, "Why are you so mad about?"
Yeah, and, like,
Well, he's pissed, people off with things he's said about people he's
yeah, I
dated and
know,
stuff,
and
so
what
it's like,
like,
yeah.
I don't even, like, think about that. I like
Right.
his music because
Me too.
that's what I think
Yeah.
he wants everyone to know
Yeah.
about is his music,
Yes.
and, like, I think a lot of people now, they don't know who he is. I mean, because
No.
like, when he first came out, like, when you turn on the radio, you would hear a John Mayer song.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know because I don't have radio capability
Yeah.
in my car now, but when I did, it was like I never heard a song from him on the
No. I
mainstream
still have
radio.
I'm old school. I still have radio because I get my cars for free from my husband and I have to have old
Oh,
cars because he's a car
oh.
guy. So I have
Well,
radio.
I mean,
They don't play John Mayer
I
unless on the light
I
station maybe sometimes. The
yeah, like,
oldies.
I don't have satellite radio, like, I could turn on the FM, but I refuse. I still
Mhm.
listen to CDs, like, I still have a
Yeah.
CD player in my car, and
My
I will as long as I can,
Mine
but
has a CD player in it, yes, too.
so, I'm
My last
old
car had a
time, I
tape player in
guess.
it. Yeah.
Oh,
I don't
wow.
yeah.
That's I gotta draw the line there.
I was like, "Whatever, it's free."
Yeah.
But, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know. He's been playing with Dead& and Company, which I think they did their last tour this summer.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
he finished that, and, I've seen him 4 times,
Nice.
and and counting, I'd like to
Yeah.
think. I haven't met him. I'm not sure if I
Oh,
want to,
oh.
um,
Eh,
because sometimes you meet
Yeah.
someone that you look up to and it's like not what you
And they're
imagine.
rude
So
or something. Yeah. Well,
yeah,
it's
so
the those front row tickets we got. I don't know why. Oh, no, was it that one? No. Well, when my husband and I went, was that one? No, sorry, I'm messing this up. The second time I went with my friend and I was getting married, my husband had
mhm,
gotten the tickets through a guy who worked at a radio station. And
mhm.
he said, oh, they asked me, I don't know why he told him. And then I don't know why my husband told me, because I was like, why did you even tell me this? That they asked, oh, what is the ticket holder like? What do they do at the radio station? I'll set up a meet and greet for her. And he was like, oh, she doesn't work at, I'm like, why? First of all, why are you telling this? And why didn't you just say I worked? God, I'm like, what?
Oh my
Yeah, after the fact, I'm like,
oh
really?
my, that's
Anyway,
about right.
anywho, wasn't meant to be. It's fine. Okay,
Yeah.
just two other fun questions. What
Mhm.
can't you live without? I know it's a
Um,
big question, maybe, but
yeah, I mean, there's a couple things, I guess.
like something, it doesn't have to be food. Like I said this on my last episode, that I like have to have peanut butter in my house and make sure there's more than one jar, or else I get a little panicky. So
I
I don't know if there's
literally just bought peanut butter for that reason, like, the other day.
what is it with
I'm
peanut
not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. Like, I yeah, peanut butter is essential because you can do so many things with it, not just put it on bread. Um, and I guess if we're in the category of food, or
Yeah.
I need pineapple, something
Oh,
pineapple. Like, I love
really?
pineapple juice. I get these little cans of, it's like
Oh
Dole
yeah.
pineapple juice.
When I was little, we used to have those. Yeah.
Yeah, so, and orange juice, really. I mean, I can do without pineapple juice, but orange juice, I
Mm.
love. It's
Wow.
got to be the no pulp orange juice.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Well, what was the first thing you thought of when I said that? Or did too many things come to mind when I said, what is something you can't live without?
yeah, like, I guess it wasn't so much food, it was more of like music. I need
Mm.
music,
Oh, no, that's good to know. Yeah.
all
Yeah.
the time,
Yeah.
everywhere, most of the time.
Yeah.
Um, it's just essential, and the ability to play the piano, like, it's a
Mm.
really nice way to relax. Like, if I
Mm-hmm.
come home, I can just, pound on the
Yeah.
keys and
Yeah.
release some stress, you
Yeah.
know?
What can't you leave the house without other than, cell phone, keys, the usual?
Definitely, well, my wallet, of course, but, um, water, like, I'm always drinking
Mm-hmm.
water.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and lately, I mean, I don't wanna cause any controversy with, copyrights, but this water
Fiji.
is, yeah, like,
Yeah.
I was
It's good
kinda
stuff.
like, "Oh, it's kind of expensive," but then it was, like, the only option in the store at that moment. I'm like, "I need water, so I'm just gonna buy it," and
Mm-hmm.
it's good. I feel
Yeah.
more energized. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
supposed to happen with Fiji water versus other water.
It the only reason to be honest, I don't know the specifics of it. We had to get our water, this is so exciting. We had to get our water system, like we had very hard water, the sulfur smell and
Oh, yeah.
everything. So I was using like a
Mhm.
Brita filter, and my husband did have like a some kind of I think a carbon filter. Carbon? Does that say
Mhm.
on there?
Yeah, I had one of those. Yeah.
Yeah, so we got a whole system redone, and we have I forgot the name of it now. We have a specific tank for the drinking water, and she's like, this will
Oh,
taste
yeah.
like Fiji water.
Oh,
So
wow.
so yeah. So I don't know, like I don't
That's
remember like
amazing.
what's in
So
it.
you could, like,
Because it's
rename it,
supposed to
and
be
then you could bottle it and sell it and be like, "This is better
this is
than
better.
Fiji
Yeah.
water."
Yeah. So there's something about Fiji water
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I
that
mean,
they
it's
do.
just like, I like the bottle and everything. It's a square bottle, and I have fun with that
Maybe
in my car trying to fit it in
there's
the
something.
round
Now I'm
hole.
gonna have to look it up. Yeah, it's a good. It's a rare. It's been around a long time, and it's always had a very good. It's reverse osmosis. It's the way they purify the water. I
Oh,
believe
yeah.
that's it.
Okay.
And I
I've heard of
must be
that.
what they do. It's just, yeah, I believe so. Hopefully I'm not misquoting. Like an idiot.
It sounds good to me.
No, Jackie, that's the water they put in irons for ironing.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Um, I think that's all I have. This always happens though, and then I like end the episode. I'm like, oh, I forgot to ask. Well, what other types of music do you listen to other than John Mayer?
Um, I listen to like rock music,
Mm-hmm.
like classic rock. Like I like Eric Clapton.
Hmm.
Um, I like Southern rock type, like Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to see them in concert, but
Hmm.
now most have
Yeah.
passed away. I think
Yeah.
there's one original member left,
Yeah.
but that type of music.
Mm-hmm.
And other bands that my dad got me into, like I'll listen to some Marshall Tucker band. I don't know if you've heard of them. I think they were based out of South Carolina,
Okay.
but that band is mostly passed away too. I've listened to some Leonard Skinner,
Mm.
um, so that type.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I listen to newer music too, but that's more of like Sarah Bareilles. I like her because she has the piano in there,
Mm-hmm.
and that's about all that comes to mind at the
Oh,
moment. I'm sure there's others. Like like my Spotify is just so like scattered. Like I'll
mm-hmm.
have rock playlists, and then I'll have like modern
Yeah.
playlists that just have like one or two from the artist,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
can't think of it off the top of
That's
my
all right.
head.
Yeah.
But
That's good to know.
I'm sure you do that too. So
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Is there anything? So I'll link your website and your Instagram is Zara Speech.
yeah, yeah, ZARASpeech. Yeah, I
Yeah.
will say I really appreciate this interview, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
fun to talk to you.
Yeah,
And we should do this again, even if it's
definitely.
not recorded.
Yeah, I mean, two speech paths just talking about.
I know. It's amazing what we can come up with. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, all right, everyone. Thanks for listening and watching, and hopefully you come back and meet some more
Yeah,
people. All right.
of
Bye.
course. Thank you, Jackie.
Yep.
Bye-bye. Thank
Bye.
you.